Imagine a battlefield where the deadliest enemy is not gunfire, but the silence of falling snow. Thousands of Ottoman soldiers, thinly clothed, huddled together on a desolate mountain pass, not fighting, but simply dying. In the winter of 1914, the Ottoman Third Army marched into the Caucasus Mountains, full of hope, only to be defeated by the merciless grip of winter. The Battle of Sarikamish became one of history's most chilling military disasters. Promised a swift victory, the soldiers instead faced plummeting temperatures and relentless snow that buried paths, supplies, and hope. Men froze where they stood, rifles in hand, never seeing the enemy. Tens of thousands perished, not in heroic combat, but shivering in the dark, lost in a blizzard. The snow became a vast shroud, covering an army that simply ceased to exist. This tragedy is a stark reminder that war is more than strategy and firepower. It's about human beings pushed to their limits by forces beyond their control. The Sarikamish disaster stands as a testament to the deadly combination of hubris, poor planning, and the overwhelming power of nature. Often overshadowed by the Western Front, this chapter of World War I deserves to be remembered. The soldiers who froze in the Caucasus Mountains paid the ultimate price for their leaders' ambitions. Their story is a powerful lesson about the true cost of war. Sometimes, the most silent killer is the most devastating. In 1914, as Europe plunged into war, the Ottoman Empire faced a critical choice. Once a mighty power, now weakened and called the sick man of Europe, the empire was caught between rival alliances. Russia, a traditional enemy, threatened from the north, making an alliance with Germany and Austria-Hungary seem logical. The Young Turks, ambitious reformers, saw Germany as a path to restoring Ottoman glory. In August, a secret treaty bound the Ottomans to Germany, but they hesitated to enter the war. The turning point came when German warships under Ottoman colors bombarded Russian ports, provoking Russia to declare war. The Ottomans were now in the conflict, opening new fronts from the Middle East to the Caucasus. Leaders like Enver Pasha believed German support would help them defeat Russia and reclaim lost lands. But the empire's vast territory, poor infrastructure, and underprepared army set the stage for disaster. The decision to join the war would soon bring the empire to its knees. The consequences would be felt in the frozen mountains of Sarikamish. At the heart of the Ottoman war effort was Enver Pasha, the ambitious minister of war. He saw himself as a modern Napoleon, convinced that bold action would bring victory. Ignoring his general's warnings, Enver planned a daring winter offensive against the Russians at Sarikamish. His strategy, a massive pincer movement through snowbound mountains, aiming to encircle and destroy the Russian army. The plan relied on speed and surprise, but the soldiers lacked winter gear, and supply lines were fragile. Even German advisors pleaded with Enver to reconsider, but he pressed on, believing sheer willpower could overcome the elements. In December 1914, Enver took personal command and ordered the offensive to begin. Troops marched for days through mountains over 10,000 feet high, in temperatures dropping to -30°C. They carried minimal supplies, expecting to seize Russian stockpiles after victory. It was a reckless gamble, staking the fate of an entire army on a single maneuver. The soldiers began their march, unaware that their greatest enemy would be the cold, not the Russians. The stage was set for catastrophe. The Ottoman Third Army marched into the mountains tragically unprepared. Most wore thin summer uniforms and sandals with no coats or gloves, completely inadequate for the freezing cold. A crucial shipment of winter supplies was sunk by the Russian Navy, sealing the fate of thousands. Enver Pasha pressed on, believing speed would compensate for lack of equipment. Soldiers wrapped their feet in rags, but it was futile against the relentless cold. Supply lines were stretched thin, food was scarce, and what little bread they had froze solid. Hunger, exhaustion, and cold created a perfect storm of suffering. The initial patriotic fervor quickly gave way to a grim struggle for survival. Before facing the enemy, the army was already being decimated by winter. The lack of basic equipment was not just a hardship, it was a death sentence. As the Ottoman corps advanced, a massive blizzard struck plunging temperatures and erasing all trails. The coordinated attack Enver envisioned collapsed instantly. Units became lost and isolated in the storm. Soldiers' clothes froze to their bodies, frostbite set in, and many simply sat down in the snow, never to rise again. The army became a scattered collection of freezing, starving men. Horses and mules died in the snow, forcing soldiers to abandon artillery and supplies. Even if they reached Sarikamish, they lacked the firepower to attack. The Russians, better equipped and sheltered, watched in astonishment as Ottoman units stumbled out of the blizzard, more ghostly than threatening. Brief skirmishes occurred, but the Ottomans were too weak to fight. The true battle was against the cold, not the enemy. Thousands died each day, not from bullets, but from the suffocating embrace of the snow. Nature had already decided the outcome. The true horror of Sarikamish lies in the stories of those who survived, and the silence of those who didn't. Survivors recalled marching past comrades frozen in place, some still standing as if on guard. Others died huddled together, trying to share warmth. In their final moments, some hallucinated, singing childhood songs or calling for loved ones, a haunting chorus in the snow. Confusion reigned. Lost units sometimes fired on each other in the blizzard, mistaking friend for foe. Officers and enlisted men shared the same fate, distinctions erased by suffering. A Turkish doctor wrote of treating men with frozen limbs, able only to offer comfort. Amid catastrophe, small acts of humanity endured, a testament to the spirit of the common soldier. By January 1915, the Ottoman Third Army was shattered, retreating through a landscape of frozen corpses. Of nearly 100,000 men, only a fraction survived. Most died from cold, starvation, and disease, not combat. The army was destroyed, leaving the Caucasus front exposed for the rest of the war. Enver Pasha escaped and imposed strict censorship, hiding the scale of the disaster from the public. He blamed Armenians for the defeat, fueling propaganda that would have horrific consequences later that year. The truth could not stay buried. Within the military, the failure bred bitterness and shame. Hafiz Hakkı Pasha, promoted after the disaster, died of typhus weeks later, leaving behind words of regret. The Sarikamish disaster was not just a military defeat, it was a deep wound to Ottoman pride and a sign of the empire's decline. The tragedy foretold the collapse to come. The snow could not cover the truth forever. Sarikamish is a timeless lesson about the true nature of war. It shows that ambition and poor planning can be deadlier than any enemy. For decades, the disaster was shrouded in silence, but today, Turkey remembers the fallen with annual memorial marches. These acts of remembrance transform numbers into human stories of loss, endurance, and tragedy. The story of Sarikamish is not just military history, it's a universal tale of ambition, duty, and the brutal indifference of nature. By remembering those who died without firing a shot, we honor their sacrifice. Their suffering teaches us the true cost of war. The echoes from those frozen mountains must never be forgotten.